What up, what up, what up? Hold on. It's your boy Dave B. You watching DaveBeyondTV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And I'm on the way to the JO. But I wanted to make a video talking about some astrology, sun in Aries, moon in Cancer. And I wanted to speak a little bit too on the transition into the full moon, because we know that right now, so we're going through a waxing period. This is when the moon is on its way from its new moon space when it was in Aries. So if you're new to astrology, wherever the sun, like whenever we have the sun and the moon in the same place, and that's a new moon. And whenever we have the sun and the moon in opposite places, this is when we have a full moon. So the travel from the new moon to the full moon is the waxing period. That's where you got to put in the work. So the work for this always, and you got to understand too, with moon transits, it's always, the progression is always towards that full moon state, and that needs to be where we're satisfied. And then from the full moon to the new moon, right, that's kind of like a regeneration period. So that's called the waning period, where we're supposed to be reflecting and really it's almost like you're basking in the fruits of your labor. So all the work that you put in, on some way, shape, form, or fashion, you should be able to access or to enjoy whatever you've done. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's important to, utilize as many transits as you can in order to be able to, at the full moon period, there won't be a lot of stuff that you have to do, because the worst thing to happen is if a full moon period occurs and you have a lot of energy to put in, because what happens is it's already a heightened energy around us in the world. So this is kind of like, it's kind of ironic because it makes you exhausted. This is where a lot of the emotional world, like the emotional intensity of the world, is at a certain height. It's at a certain peak. It peaks at the full moon state, and this is why a lot of crazy things end up happening, or people end up in situations in which they, again, they have to go through something extreme or very traumatic, something that makes them go, God damn, like, what, how did this get this far? And it could happen at the instant, and it's simply coming from you just putting too much energy into what's already bubbling at the pot. It's already bubbling, and you're trying to add, fuel to the flame type shit. So, but before we, so looking at this transit, right, we know we had the new moon in Aries. So with the new moon in Aries, really, like I've been saying, it's like a passionate new sense of self that we're stepping into, that we're becoming aware of. And the whole idea with Aries energy is all about initiating and creating something new when it comes to your feelings and how you see things. So when it comes to, and then we know the Aries energy, that Mars energy, deals with self. So that one energy, I should say, right, deals with self. Aries being the first, this is the starting point of a lot of things. So right now we're at that starting point in which we have to now set the tone for our year, and see whatever we initiate now is what's going to be sustained in Taurus. So always keep that in mind, that the next phase, the next transit, the next, wherever the planets progress next, wherever they're on the way to, that's what we need to be preparing for. That's how this is how you strategically use astrology, and not just be, the moon is in Cancer, I'm a little sad today, I'm gonna take a nap. It's like, nah, and look, live your life how you want to, because not everybody is really not everybody is fighting the same fight. Not everybody is experiencing or going through or has the same mission. So it's not about even when we talk about these spiritual channels and all these communities and shit, it's not about trying to come at people and change, change them by force, and trying to, guilt trip people into, being aware of some shit that they might not be here to be aware of. It's more so about knowing yourself and doing what's right for you, so that you can have your shit straight and you become an example for other individuals who are meant to be in your circle, who are meant to be aware of you and meant to be aware of the same things you're aware of. This is how you know who's in your soul group, because when you speak your truth, it's the folks who listen. And even if they, again, not everybody gonna necessarily agree, but the folks who participate and engage with you on some level, these are parts of your soul group. Sometimes we look at people that we disagree with as enemies, and that's not always the case. Sometimes we need people to disagree with us so that we can expand ourselves, so that we can learn something new, because you're not always right. And a lot of times like, it's a deep rooted thing with a lot of folks that they, everybody want to be right. The scariest thing to a lot of people is being wrong, and there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Sometimes we have to be wrong, and we have to, again, admit it and see that, and that's where self-awareness comes in. And this is also a theme of Aries season: extreme self-awareness. And that could be triggered at the moment due to the moon in Cancer, bringing a certain sensitivity to our awareness, a certain sensitivity to things we got going on personally. And again, depending on what house you have this energy in, that's what's going to determine where that energy is being directed. Because again, it might not be in your first house or your personal house. It might be in a whole different house, like your 11th house. But still, there's a form of a question on basically God looking at you and asking, like, hey, are you gonna take this personally, like you did before? Because a lot of us, again, when you're too much in your own, like, especially these Aries energies and Cancer energies are very prone to take things personally. Now, Aries might shrug it off in a way where you don't really see them sweat, but internally, it's like Aries moves so fast that you might not catch when they're being emotional, but they're always in their emotional. They're always in their feelings. They're always, feeling something, some kind of way. And it's just, you might not catch it or see it the same way as it shows up in a water sign. A water sign is going to let some emotions sit for a while, long enough for it to be felt and understood. Even if you don't understand what's wrong with them, something's wrong with them. They're in a mood. But when it comes to Aries moves so fast that you might not catch them in a necessarily moody space, but you can tell that they in their feelings, because of how they move, or whatever's going on. And you just understand that they always in their feelings. So it's always something going on, They right in between, they right next to Pisces energy. So it's like they really always in their feelings, but they learn how to spark new idea or new feelings to jump to different spaces whenever they need to. And that's that fire. That's that gift that fire gives. And so we have to understand we have to understand the current state that we're in, or the current energies we're dealing with. We're dealing with some of that Cancer energy on the moon side, and we're dealing with the Aries energy on the sun side. So, okay, like I was just speaking about the sun, right? We need to know how to create movement, basically, how to spark new ways of seeing things and feeling, so that we don't become stagnant into old emotions. Old emotions are the number one. They're going to be your number one enemy if you're not being wise, if you're not, because like I was saying in that emotional accountability video, where we have Saturn and Pisces right now, it's like, you are responsible for how you take on certain feelings. A lot of times we get hurt by different individuals based upon whatever they saying, whatever they doing, and then we want to take that personally, and then we want to blame them. And what you don't realize is that, something like, not to say that you're not supposed to do that, because sometimes people do got you fucked up, and you do got to address certain things going on. But the thing is, internally, you should always be working to not internalize a lot of that shit. Or I would say internalize it, but like I was saying in that other video, learn how to really heal certain things and pay attention and be aware of what's triggering me emotionally. Because a lot of times you just be thinking that you're, it's good to feel your feelings. We got to feel what we feeling. But you got to understand, your feelings aren't yours, but you're attracted to certain feelings for a reason. And there's a reason why you might identify with certain emotions, because you got to think about it like that. You got to think about it like people, almost. If these are the people that keep coming around, what am I doing to invite this crowd? If I keep dealing with these same negative feelings, what am I doing to bring these, like, what am I participating in that's making these feelings feel like it's cool to just come up and talk to me? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Ladies know what I'm talking about. Like, what am I giving off that makes this nigga come talk to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you got to look at your feelings like that sometimes. Like, what feelings why am I frequenting certain feelings? And a lot of it is due to unhealed thought processes. Certain ways you put information in your mind is the reason why you keep frequenting certain thoughts and feelings, and I speak a lot about this, like when because people sleep, like they don't realize that's what the third house really all about. The third house is like neighbors, right? You might think it's like your friends and even your hobbies and shit like that, but a lot of times it be your own thoughts and feelings that you frequent, that you're familiar with, the ones that come around, the homies, you know what I'm saying, the close ones. They might not be all up in your personal life and your private life, right? They might not be your spouse and live with you and see what's going on inside your house, but they people who's around constantly, who get to know you, you know what I'm saying, know you on some level, and you have to acknowledge that, like, man, these feelings must, think they know me, and you got to shake that off sometimes and remind yourself and remind the energy you in, like, remind your own spirit, like, hey, and I don't want to say it like that because it'll get you thinking that it's separate. It's not about, don't look at it separate. It's like you are that spirit controlling everything, you know what I'm saying? You are in control of all these things, and so, but you have to be aware. This is why self-awareness is so key, and so this is like passionate sensitivity, because the moon is in the space. Now the moon is where it likes to be. The moon is able to, somewhat enjoy the energies of Cancer because it's home. You know what I'm saying? It's home at home. So, but the thing about it is, it's got Mars there. So this could go two ways. Either, again, a lot of passionate emotions, that deal with sensitivity, you being extremely sensitive at the moment, and a lot of this might be caused to you knowing you're not doing what you're supposed to do in this new life. You know what I'm saying? When we hit the new year and the new moon, it was like a new life being started. So there might be things that you're not doing, right? You're planting the wrong seeds, things you're not doing, or ways you're not seeing things, right? Because really, it's not even so much about what you're doing. It's just you haven't figured out. You haven't taken the initiative to create a new way to see and feel. And even if you did, you haven't been consistent with that new feeling. And here's the thing with Aries and how to, because, we talk about consistency, right? A lot of times we associate consistency with these earth signs, but all signs can be consistent. They just do it in their own way. So how an Aries becomes consistent is you could always expect the Aries to be feeling something new, to be seeing something new, to be on some new shit, to be on to the next. So that's how you got to look at yourself. You might have came to certain epiphanies and realized certain things and had certain flashes of self-awareness and enlightenment, but were you consistent with it? Were you constantly, all right, now let's spark the next enlightenment. All right, let's spark the next self-awareness. Let's jump into the next activity with our energy. Let's focus on the next expression. If you're not constantly creating that new feeling and seeing something new out of whatever you're experiencing, right? This is where you become a little inconsistent with the Aries energy. This is where you can get caught being a bit stagnant, and it can cause frustration because, again, you didn't keep consistent on that new energy, on that energy you were supposed to, because we still in that season. And then with the sun being exalted, it's like, it's that much more intense. The sun damn near leads you to be exhausted if you're not actually, if you're not directing this energy properly, because that's the thing with Mars too. Mars has a tremendous amount of energy with it, but you have to be intentional with Mars. You have to tell Mars what to do. It's like the oldest son, and the thing about the oldest son, he could be very talented and have a lot of skills and have all the qualities that's necessary for survival and getting the job done, but he might just be reckless. He might just not know how to direct his energy. You know what I'm saying? This is like just, that adolescence that comes with youth, you know what I'm saying? But the energy that comes with youth as well, you know what I'm saying? The youth, and this is why even where it becomes so important to really, take the time to pour into your kids some good shit, because they're just, they're balls of power. They, you know what I'm saying? They limitless. So every child is limitless. You born limitless, and it's not until you get into the world and it start making you think you limited, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you 30 years old, you 40 years old, and you ain't never did nothing spectacular. You ain't never jumped into your energy like you were supposed to, like God needed you to. And this is how you just end up on that side of life that isn't as fulfilled as it could be. You know what I'm saying? But it's never too late. But it's like, there's times for things, you know what I'm saying? In your youth, that's the time to do certain things. When you get older, it's inevitable. You get weaker. You know what I'm saying? Now, you got to have the right mental so that, again, this body won't mean as much. So you actually get more powerful, and you reverse it. But that's the thing. You gotta know that, though. You gotta know that it's all mental, and it's about how you're building your mind, and it's more about, that kind of shit. But, in this world, it get crazy. There's so many different things going on. It's easy to forget. It's easy to get caught up. And next thing you know, it's just, again, your life go by, and it's just, all you like saying, you rocking on the chair saying where the time go. You know what I'm saying? But, that's what, we for, the subconscious community. This is what we doing it for. This is what, so that we can, take that power back and live life how we supposed to, and do things instead, for a better world. Because that's the thing, that's what creates bitterness. That's what creates the problem. The bitterness in the world is all that confusion, all that not knowing and being too late and having to figure it out and not being sure, all that, and being alone. You know what I'm saying? All these different things is what creates that frustration within us. That's what creates that toxic energy. When you have to spend a great deal of time alone mentally, and it's a battlefield up there. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, but at the same time, that's no excuse. We have to take, like I was saying before, emotional accountability and spiritual accountability too, because we got to look at this shit like, hey, it's your life, and ain't nobody here to feel sorry for you, right? But here's the thing. So moon being in Cancer, we know, okay, I like to look at, especially Cancer, where's the insecurities at? Like I said, this is passionate sensitivity. So everything that's frustrating you right now, if you're being triggered right now, because it's, like I was saying, there's two ways it can go. Passionate sensitivity, you're being triggered right now. Everything around you is making you very uncomfortable and it's distracting you almost to the point where you're getting irritated and you're getting triggered here, triggered there. Everything is a problem, and you feel naked, though. You feel like ain't nobody really there. You feel unsafe. Or if you've been planting the right seeds, and planting the right seeds really just look like, and when I'm saying this too, don't stress too much on whether or not you planting the right seeds or not. You got to do what you do, and it's a certain space you got to be looking at shit to where you realize that as long as you, again, keeping your intentions pure and putting in the addressing certain things going on within you, you doing just fine. But again, getting back to what I was saying, so if you planting the right seeds, look like you've been taking accountability for this new self. You've been stepping into this new awareness, not with fear, but with, again, intention. And you're looking at your life and you're saying, okay, this is what I'm doing, and this is the new me. And you haven't been allowing anything to really slow you down, because that's the thing. Sometimes we allow certain things to slow us down. We end up getting caught up in certain energies that we're not supposed to be in, and it just creates a lot of frustration within ourselves, because we be knowing when we're not on it. We be knowing when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? But here's the thing. So when it comes to this energy, planting the right seeds at this moment in time, looks like you've been taking that authority for your own direction. You've been allowing yourself to jump into new experiences, right? Because we got Jupiter there, we got Mercury there. We've been communicating either to ourselves, or we've been allowing our communication to come out in a way in which we are demanding and not so much demanding things from others, but we are, like, I'll say commanding, where we are coming from a place of strength when we speak, right? And this could be just mentally how you're talking to yourself at the moment, because that's important too. You got to know, like, how you're talking to yourself, especially with Mercury and Aries, in a certain space in which the mind is correlated to the self-confidence, the self-awareness. So things that's coming out of your mouth are either sounding really wise, right, due to Mercury being next to Jupiter, and then in Aries it's like a passionate, wise vibe, or it might sound very childish, very foolish. And that's if you aren't actually looking at the right lessons. You aren't learning the right things. And the only reason you wouldn't be learning the right things is because you're not going through the right experiences. And the only way you're not going through the right experiences is you're not allowing that Aries energy, right? And you're not taking it and directing it into the new intentional space that you want it to be in. Because that's the thing. It's like, this is that moment you get, that chance you get to do some new shit, to spark some new shit. So again, your life is like, we go through New Year's all the time, right? Every, say we go through New Year's all the time. So when we hit New Year's, it's like, people want to do New Year's in fucking December and shit like that when it was Capricorn season. That wasn't the vibe to start nothing new. Right now, it's a clean slate. And then we only 4 moons into that new year. So you got to look at yourself and say, okay, well, where am I going? And this is where I tie things into understanding the full moon space being Libra. So we know that, okay, if the energy started with Aries and my self-awareness, that self-awareness, the purpose of it must be so I can be satisfied with the way in which I relate, either to myself or to others, and the ways in which I am able to communicate, the clarity in which I'm able to communicate. Let's look at Libra energy. What is it all about? Venus, the exaltation of Saturn, right? So on some level, it's about values, knowing myself, so that I can communicate what's valuable to me, or I can offer support and value to others, or to myself in forms of relating to myself, knowing how to organize different ideas within me and initiate the forward movement towards the construction of that. Talking about the exaltation of Saturn, making sense out of something and figuring out how to communicate it so that I can share it with another individual, and then we can really build something. Because you can't build nothing alone. You can start to lay bricks alone, but you ain't really building. You're not building until you get a team together and you get different individuals applying their energy into the same thing. And when y'all all in tandem and y'all all in a certain synchronicity and certain flow, this is where, now we building. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never seen one nigga building a house. You always pull up, it's like 4 or 5 people on ladders, 2 dudes on ladders, somebody painting, somebody inside doing electrical work. It's a team. You know what I'm saying? And again, you might be like, well, I've seen, people build stuff by themselves, but look at the size of the shit people build when they by themselves. If you building something by yourself, you're not building a house. You're building like a shed at the most. You know what I'm saying? And I'm using an analogy and I'm being funny, but at the same time, it's like, seriously. You know what I'm saying? And even if you were to build something big, right, and you like, I could do it on my own, think about how much time that take. And these are all themes of Libra. The exaltation of Saturn. Saturn is not so much about spending a long time. It's really about figuring out the most efficient way to use time. It's not about, Capricorns ain't about doing all this work. It's the reason why they see themselves as a boss, as an executive, because it's about figuring out the most efficient way to use time, aka Saturn. And that's why Saturn and Mars clash, because Mars wants to do any and everything and can waste a lot of time, waste a lot of energy. Saturn be looking at that like, look, I'm too old to just be wasting energy. And that's a good way to look at it. Like I said, the adolescence of Mars, you young, you got all this energy, you got to get it out, right? You're supposed to be out in the streets, moving here, moving there. But when you get older, you got to slow down because you just ain't got that much energy anymore. So you need to be as efficient as possible with what you're putting your energy into and what you going to get out of it. I'm not putting no effort into something I'm not seeing no result in. And sometimes, again, but Saturn knows that sometimes you're not going to get a lot on the front end. Sometimes you got to invest. Sometimes you got to put in the work and get, you know what I'm saying? Saturn understands that, though. Saturn has that patience, or I say Capricorn energy, Aquarius energy even, they have that patience. They understand that principle, okay? But some things do take time, but it's not about taking time for time's sake. It's the necessary time to be the most efficient with what's going on, whether it's you building a skill, right? A boundary and restriction lets you know, okay, I need to build on this first. I need to take some time to work at this, and I might suck at it, but I need to direct my energy into being more efficient with how I'm going about this. So it's a sharpening process. It's like, all right, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Steel sharpens steel type energy. Boom, boom. And then when it comes to Mars is more like, let me just jump into it because I'm young and I got enough energy to where even if I made a mistake, I could recuperate. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of youth. It's like you get hurt, but you can recuperate a lot faster. You go through a surgery, you can recuperate a lot faster. You older, you in your 40s and 50s, you get a surgery, you might be out for a couple weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being real. You might be out for a little time. You might, you might need some time off. Like, hey, don't, yeah, I ain't doing nothing, for the next two weeks. Just because your body slows down, the regeneration process, right? Now, mentally, we know that we can modify these things, but again, the reality of it is what it is. It's like your body is different. I'm moving different. I'm breathing different. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? But real shit. So, that's what it comes down to. So, like I was saying, we going to Libra. So it's about, a better relationship with ourselves, and the path to get there is through self-awareness. And now we're in Cancer, so we're at the square point where we have to, again, this is even more into that emotional accountability, understanding what we're reacting to. This is, like I said, it's either passionate sensitivity, or this is a new comfort zone when it comes to our self-awareness, a new a new sense of self that we can be comfortable with. So this is kind of you understanding yourself, being a little more sympathetic with yourself. And what I mean by sympathetic with yourself is like going through the process and understanding why you might be feeling what you're feeling. Like I was saying before, understanding, what is it that's bringing me to these emotional conclusions and putting me in these spaces that have me, wondering and questioning and seeing myself and trying to figure this out, and don't stress yourself out too much about it. Understand also, if you've been planting the right seeds, there's time to rest. Rest and not about, because you might have shit to do. I'm not saying neglect the shit you have to do, but understand that, this is all about our moods. This is a lot of cardinal energy. So if you aren't in the space you want to be in emotionally, this is the time to change it. And this is about adjusting our attitude to better, again, to get to that full moon space. It's the square of them. So we have to learn something here. And what we learn here is something we can teach to ourselves later on, if that makes sense to y'all. Since it's dealing with squares, it's dealing with learning. This is the first square from the new moon. So this is learning the information. The next square from here to the full moon, that'll be the lessons that we can apply to getting familiar with the Libra energy and knowing how to actually relate. First, we have to deal with our insecurities, and we have to settle certain things that's going on within ourselves. We have to heal our hearts first, and it's gotta be in the name of self-awareness, and it's gotta be it for the sake of passion, or done in a passionate way. We gonna get there in a passionate way, but don't use that passion on the wrong end of the energy, aka now you're getting frustrated and aggressive, and you feel like you taking certain things personal due to insecurities that you haven't quite healed or dealt with, and now you're starting wars. You're burning bridges at times where you don't realize when you're going to actually need that person. Same thing with thoughts and ideas and feelings. You're not going to know when you need that idea again. So you burning all these things trying to find yourself. Whole time you running in a circle. You're not paying attention. And the reason for this is because that fire and water energy does create a steam, and that steam, it can be elusive, and you can start to forget like what's really going on. You can start to forget what's really important. You start to stop seeing yourself, which you should be seeing, because we're dealing with the first house energy and fourth house energy. We're dealing with personal and private. So this is an internal thing. So again, you might have a steam over you internally that creates confusion on how you should be expressing yourself, and that just, again, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there. Is all, that's the beauty of astrology. You don't have to stay there. You know what's going on energetically. So change it up, switch it up, do something different if that's not serving you. And again, we in cardinal energy, so this is the time to switch trajectories, right? I got to head in and shit like that. I'll probably make another video talking about the transits and stuff like that affecting it. But for the most part, I mean, I think I kind of spoke about it already a little bit, like the moon being in conjunct Pluto, trining Saturn. So this is realistic, doing something realistic with this, with these feelings, putting these feelings to use. The moon squaring Jupiter, squaring Mercury. So this is, again, a lot of conflict internally, based upon what you're learning, what you're experiencing. But this is like learning how to feel about it, learning how to feel about the things on your mind, learning how to feel about these new senses of self, this new awareness that you're stepping in, you know. And so that's why I say be patient with yourself, because you're gonna have to learn lingo, learn what the new thing is, because right now we're fleshing this new idea of ourselves out, and you have to let it play out fully. And by the end of this transit, when we hit the full moon in Libra, the energy, the vibe should be you in a position to be like, oh, I know how to relate to myself due to me healing a lot of this shit. I know how to relate to myself, and you knowing how to relate to yourself, this makes you a better relator to other individuals outside of yourself, because you now can actually communicate and do things the way it's supposed to. Because we got to remember that, you know, when we're actually relating to people, creating harmony, we have to know how to take the sensitivity out sometimes, and know how to just communicate and intellectualize certain things when we're talking about, you know, the Libra energy, communicating and really relating, and, you know, doing what we need to do in the world. You're going to need to be satisfied there. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to, again, your satisfaction there comes from how much confidence you build in this new self-awareness. And that confidence can only be built if you're addressing certain things that's going on beneath the surface. Much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.